Right, on today's episode of the High Performance Hub, we are joined by Dorian Warmsley. He is a trainer, an elite trainer at that, and has an incredible, inspirational story and journey to tell. But we're not just going to talk about that, we're going to talk about business, fitness, mindset, high performance, and everything included. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Tom Watts. I appreciate you allowing me to come into your space and sit down with you and chat. I take people's time very valuable. As somebody I'm sure you know, as a busy individual, you're very particular on who you decide to give your energy and time to, so I really appreciate that, and thank you once again.
Mate, absolutely. Like I think it was literally like 3 or 4 days we connected.
Yeah.
And from the first 30 seconds of me being on your Instagram, I was like, this guy, let's get him on as quick as possible. And then we booked it in the same week.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say like in a nutshell, but from like just basically go through your story if you can, and your journey to where you were, what you gone through.
Yeah.
And to where you are now.
And shout out to you, man. I'm about the action, so it's like how quickly we talked about it. A day or two later, like, all right, I got this day. I'm like, all right, I'll figure it out. I don't like lingering and getting straight to it. But so I sober wellness coach and a fitness coach. So I have an online sober coaching program to help people who are struggling with their drinking relationship. And then in person and online, I train women, strength training. But my journey started, man, I was originally from Orange County, California. So I grew up about 25 minutes from Disneyland. Me and my mom were homeless for a few years, living in and out of motels, getting clothes from charities and government assistance, all that stuff. And she moved us here to Vegas with just our duffel bags. We came on the Greyhound. We stayed at a weekly motel for about 2-3 weeks. She got a job, started working minimum wage at the 99-cent store. And after about less than a year, she got us an apartment. She just knows, man. My mom knows how to grind, how to get things done for her kids. It was me and my younger sister. And during that time period, I learned to make myself small because her life was already hard. So I made sure I didn't make it harder by getting into trouble, being just a messed up individual, So I stayed out the way and stayed quiet. Very outgoing personality, but just didn't complain about not having stuff. And as time went on, man, I graduated high school, and then I started getting into the party life. All my friends went to UNLV. I would go to the college parties and started my drinking journey. And with alcohol, it made me feel like the life of the party. You know Stifler? You ever seen American Pie?
Have I?
Yeah. So similar to him, that's how I always seen myself in those earlier years. Like the guy, it's going to be a good time if I'm there drinking, whatever. And that kind of became my identity. Being the person that you want to go to a party, you hit me up, or you invite me because it'll be a good time. And then one day in 2014, I got blacked out drunk. Friend's birthday party, we're on a party bus. And then a week later, I woke up in the hospital. Yeah. And when I woke up, I was confused. I looked around, I'm like, I didn't understand. Mm-hmm. And my mom was sitting there, and she looked at me, and she was like, look, you're going to be all right. She took like a day before she actually told me what happened. She was like, you fell from a 4-story window. And I'm like, I can't even explain the feeling. It was like shock, confusion, and also being scared.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, wait a minute. The last thing I remember was on the party bus. And here I am in the hospital. I had a tube coming out my stomach. I had a hole in my throat because they put a breathing tube in. And I was in the hospital for about 3 weeks, man. I like to say only 3 weeks because most people think like, damn, you fell from a 4-story window. You would think longer, but while I was in there, I wanted to be out so bad because it was just horrible. Like stuck to a bed. I didn't shower for the whole time I was there. Couldn't eat really. I didn't use the restroom. I was all messed up. And they just told me, you need to be able to get to a certain point physically before we can release you. So I just took it serious. They gave me the little mini bands, and all I can do was this, for a few days. They gave me a thing of Play-Doh. I had to take the Play-Doh in and out. And it's crazy now that I'm able to lift weights and do all these things, but then I could barely just pull out Play-Doh.
It's crazy.
And after 3 weeks, they released me. And then the next few weeks, months, it was rehab, going through physical therapy, still accepting what had happened to me. But after about 4 months, right back to drinking, man. Right back, 4 months later. And I just would tell myself lies, like, it's all right. You know, that was a one-time thing, me falling a four-story window. If I just get tipsy and cut myself off, I'll be good. That happened. But then I started going to the next level, blackout. I'm like, all right, if I black out, but I'm with my friends, it's okay.
Yeah.
And the cycle continued. And then about 9 months after my accident, one of my closest friends who was there for me during my recovery, he ended up passing away. He was drunk, inhaled his own vomit in his sleep. Same age. So at that point, it hit me. I was like confused. I was like, man, I fell from a four-story window. I made it. He's going to make it when he was in the hospital. So I never went to go see him because I feel like he was going to make it, and he didn't. So then I started making promises to myself again. You know, you're done. Done drinking. This shit is allowed to cuss? Allowed to cuss?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Make yourself at home.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, you know, I'm like, this just got to stop. And then the night before his funeral, me and some friends were driving. They pulled us over and took me to jail. I had a warrant for arrest for an old thing I did about a year ago when I was drunk. So then I went to jail. I ended up doing 2 months in jail. So then while I'm in jail, I'm still recovering physically, mentally, my own shit. He died, and now I have 2 months in jail to deal with all of that. And like the idea of being in jail, you know what I mean? Your freedom's gone, you're in a cell, somebody tells you when to wake up, when to go to bed, the food is horrible. And yeah, man, I went to jail, got out, same promise, I'm done. 2016, I get out of jail, I'm done. And I was on probation, so I had to stop. I couldn't drink for about a year and a half. But once probation was off, I hit the ground running.
The floodgates open.
Oh, bro, it was a year and a half of nothing, and I was like, I'm back in the streets, I'm free. Coachella, Jameson, at that time, Jameson was my thing. Jameson, popping Adderalls. Adderall and liquor was like my favorite combo because you could just go crazy. And I continued that for about another 7 years.
Wow.
Roughly, yeah. 2017 all the way to 2021, end of 21 when I gave it up. 5-6 years. But yeah, I continued to drink crazily, blacking out still. And I was just in it. I didn't see a problem with it. Because if I'm seeing you on Friday, you know, it's the weekend. Let's have a good time. Mm-hmm. But I was doing that every weekend. And it became 2 to 3 day benders.
Yeah. And
just waking up with hangover anxiety and just regret all the time. And then about 4 years ago from now, I had a roommate, and I remember telling her, I was like, hey, I'm going to go get a drink with a friend. It's like 6 p.m. Me and her are supposed to get groceries together later on. I was like, I'll have one drink, I'll be back. She's like, okay, 6 p.m. Next thing you know, she's picking me up the next day, 5 a.m., 30 minutes across town. I was asleep in a Walgreens parking lot from being blacked out drunk. And I have video on my Instagram. You can see it. She literally has video of her picking me up. And I'm just like this, sleep in a coma. And I'm like, what the fuck? I got to stop. But I still drink. Still drink.
I mean, that's
and that's kind of where it got to us here now. You know, I kept drinking. And then the end of 2021 is where I slowly started to get away from it. I started training clients personally. I started working at a group fitness gym, Orange Theory. But even when I was working there, I was still drinking. Once I got private clients, I noticed I started like canceling my sessions because I was hungover. I'd text them in the morning, hey, I'm sick. And I was like, bro, you're really about to let liquor get between you and money and change somebody's life. You got to stop. So I started like doing weekend boot camps because I was like, if I commit to a boot camp, I can't drink the night before. So that's kind of how I kind of slowly separated. And my last real like hoorah maybe was like a music festival called Rolling Loud at the end of 2021. And I went 3 days, and I was so embarrassed because I looked at my bank account. In those 3 days, I spent about $600-$700 on liquor. Just liquor. And I was like, bro, you got to change. Christmas of 2021 was the last day I drank. And I was in there, so in case you have questions, we could keep going. But
yeah, I was just like kind of, it's not funny, but
oh, it is sometimes.
One of the moments that made you realize even more that you need to stop drinking was when you realised it was getting in the way of you making money.
Yeah.
Not the Walgreens, not the 4-story building, not your friends losing their life, and condolences for that.
Yeah.
It was when it was kind of turned around on you and just, all right, okay, this is actually stopping my progress with actually what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing that you could put more impact into other people's lives. I'm a bit lost for words, mate, honestly. It's amazing to see and hear what you've gone through to be where you are now.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's going to be one of the most inspirational chats I think I'll ever have. Unreal.
Yeah.
So with the going from like the coaching side, and like you say, the last day was drinking on Christmas Day
2021, yeah.
Yeah. What was that journey like from then? I mean, we could go back into obviously the drinking, but I think a lot of people would be very interested to be like, how tough was it? Like when people give up smoking, or for example, were you ever tempted, which I'm sure you were, but what did that come back down to?
So I gave it up on Christmas, and around the same time I had a coach, and he was kind of teaching me the ropes of how to train clients personally. Because like I said, I was in a group fitness setting, which is different. At Orange Theory, it's structured, so he was teaching me, but also getting me ready for a bodybuilding competition. So I was like, you know what, let me take this serious. I'm not drinking already, let me cut the drinking, let me lock in. And things were going good for the first few weeks, you know. Started getting prepared for it, started cutting weight, all these things. And things didn't go well with me and him, kind of butted heads, saw differences. I stopped preparing for the show, left his gym. So now I'm about 2 months in. So at this point, I'm 2 months in, and now I'm 100% on my own. I left Orange Theory, I left his gym. I'm on my own I'm on my own business now. And I realized I gotta be sharp. So I knew I couldn't drink no more. Couldn't drink, and I couldn't be chasing women. So when I gave up alcohol, I also went celibate. Because I knew those are just two things that, I guess with men, they can throw you off and steer you in the wrong way. So I cut them both out, and I'm not going to say it wasn't hard, but I don't know, man. I just knew my purpose was bigger, and I wanted different. And like the saying goes, you want different, you got to do different. And I put myself in solitude, man. I didn't see my friends too often anymore. The invites stopped, and I was just work and home. And it did get hard and uncomfortable because you have a lot of free time. So on the weekends, I'm not out drinking no more. I'm just sitting there, and that's where you got to face all the demons. Mm-hmm. That's where everything you didn't even know you're avoiding and numbing comes to life. And I just dove into myself. I started watching all day YouTube videos of, there's a trainer named Luka Hosavar. I love his training style and the way his philosophy. So I would just watch his YouTube videos every day. Eric Thomas, a motivational speaker, I'd watch his videos every day. Anything with fitness and communication, I just dove into, because I feel like that's what was going to help me get better at my craft, being able to program better for clients, but also communicate better with clients. And that went on for about 6-7 months. After about the 6-7 month part, I started to kind of feel clarity, and started to really realize and notice how much alcohol was holding me back all these years. Just the way I thought about myself, the way I saw the world, my awareness, the ideas, the creativity. It was crazy how everything just started to explode in my mind. And the self-belief. I started to really believe more in myself if I can do almost any and everything at a great level. And it was challenging. Like I said, there was times where I did feel lonely, because even though my friends knew I didn't drink, I don't think they knew the severity of how much I really wanted to stop, of how much it was affecting me in a negative way. So I started to hold a little bit of resentment towards people, and then started to get judgy, because now I'm a sober person. I'm like, y'all need to be sober too, you know? Like, what the hell's wrong with you? And that's when I had to get a coach. I ended up getting a life coach about a year in to help me get through that. And I had to realize, you know, everybody's journey is going to be different. Just because I'm sober and doing this, I can't push that on other people. Because for you, for example, you might be able to go out and have a beer or two, and you know, I got to go home now. And that just wasn't who I was. I was a extremist, blacked out or sober. And yeah, well, I'll stop right there and we'll see if we have questions.
Well, no, I can relate to that. And like me and my mates at home are the same. Like we don't going out for one.
Yeah.
It's a saying, but it's never one. Like, what is the point in having one? And just linking back to kind of what you're saying about like drinking and getting involved with work and whatnot. I used to be a PT of my own studio, and I was doing the same thing. So like I'd schedule clients for Saturday, and I would be cancelling them. I'd be like, I'm leaving money on the table. Like I'm not just money, obviously, but building that connection, changing their life, improving their life, all this stuff. And then I was like, started scheduling more on the weekend to force me into A, not wasting my money, and B, starting to change this. And not looking, and like you say, like you were the life of the party when you were drunk, and people would be like, go on, Tom, neck that, or do that, or go on, you always do this. And it was changing that identity away from, no, that isn't me. And I can really resonate with what you said about kind of the relationships with your friends and stuff, like kind of pushing them aside or them pushing you aside because that isn't you anymore. Yeah. And in the beginning, I found that quite hard. It's not like I was like never spoke to them again. It's just like, oh, do you want to go down to the pub? I'd be like, no, I've got a 10K tomorrow. Yeah. They're like, you can have one. And I'm like, no, because I know me. Yeah. And it's never fucking one. And then it was just not just the training side of things, or it was like you literally said about the clarity and opening up your mind. I could not run my own business and drink every weekend. Like it just cannot happen. And when, like, I do drink still, but it's under control. Like, I'll have a few drinks, and don't get me wrong, there'll be a blowout once in a while, but the hangover, because I don't drink much anymore, I hate it, mate. And I'm like, it's just that constant reminder of being like...
It takes like 3 to 5 business days to recover.
Mate. And it just sucks the life out of me. But in the moment, it's like, this is amazing. And that's probably the thing that people struggle with the most. It's like, but it's really fun. Yeah. And then my argument to that is, but it's more fun when you are productive 7 days a week, making progress 7 days a week, on it 7 days a week. And me and Adam went into a bit of depth with this, because obviously he's sober as well. And it was just, even though everyone's got their own, like, I think your story and journey is completely different to mine. Yeah. But there's still a lot of correlations with how it affects us mentally, physically, financially. And it's just, it's not in line with progress. I couldn't tell you one really successful, in-shape coach, business owner that gets absolutely smashed every single weekend. Yeah, maybe when they retire, but again, even then, because they've been so on it for so long, the impact that has, it just doesn't link in with their identity anymore. Mm-hmm. And going into identity, like your identity, like when the first thing you said with your mom being homeless, like I, in the best way, like love that, because it's kind of built who you are today. And your mum, from the outside looking in, is probably like your role model in how she got through that time, because I cannot imagine the stress of being in her situation, let alone yours, and having to provide and all that. And again, mate, I'm getting lost for words. I'm tripping over my own words because I'm just, it's insane. So with your, obviously you had to shift identity. And in that process, whether it be dropping people or changing that and have like facing the demons head on. Yeah. Was there like a pivotal moment when you'd be like, that's when I was like, no, like this is now who I am. I am the sober coach. I am a professional elite coach.
Yeah. I would say because us as humans, I believe we need, I don't know if it's like a fact or not, but we need community. You know, whatever it is.
It's like a tribe.
Yeah, a tribe, right? So for me, mine was always with the alcohol, the partying, the drinking. What I associated with. Once I went sober long enough, I started to miss and feel like I said I was alone out here. So then I started putting together charity events. I was like, you know what? Let me use my energy, my personality, instead of getting people together for a party and drinking, let's get together for something that I do, which is fitness, but also for a cause, which is charity, which, like I said earlier, being homeless, that's what we relied on. So let me start doing that kind of work. And through that, it's kind of how I started finding myself and my purpose. Like, you know what, this is what I want to do, is really help people on different levels, not just fitness, but as a speaker, as a community leader. And about 7-8 months into my sobriety, I started getting a lot of DMs and texts of people like asking how they do it. They're thinking about doing it. I'm inspiring them, this and that. And I was like, damn, I give them tips and advice. But then once I got a business coach, I'm a life coach, I'm a business coach, or I'm a life coach, the idea came up like, look, man, people were asking, they're struggling, they need help. And I decided to, you know what, let me shift and see about putting together some type of program or package, group coaching to help people get together who are struggling. And I just took the identity, like, you know what, I'm going to be this sober person and push that message to everybody. And like, I don't push sobriety on nobody. Like I said, you just said, now you can have a drink or two and you're good. So I don't think the whole world needs to be sober, but I do think people need to become more aware of their drinking or smoking or porn or food or toxic relationships, become more aware of it and the patterns and start figuring out why they even need it. Don't just do it just because. And I think a lot of us get stuck in the cycle of ritual, of culture, of everything. It's Sunday. That means we got to have beers, football, soccer. We got to drink. You know, it's somebody's birthday. We got to drink. So I started to change my mindset on them, like, especially my birthday. When my birthday would come around, I'm like, I want to celebrate my birthday different now. Why do I want to celebrate the same way I did last year? Drunk, messed up. How's that celebrating yourself by putting the poison in and pretty much breaking yourself down? It's like, why can't I figure out or enjoy my life and have fun? Why do I need liquor? Why can't I do it sober and enjoy life? And it's escapism.
That was one thing me and Adam mentioned, is like, I obviously drank to have a good time, but mainly to build up my self-confidence and to be in social situations. So the first time I went to like a social situation and like was sober, I felt like everyone's like looking at me. Like I look like a bit of an idiot. But then I look around and everyone's like slurring, everyone's like drunk and I'm like buzzing. They actually don't care. Initially like, oh, Tom's not drinking, he's boring, he's this, he's that, he's da. And after a while, they just stop saying it because I'm just like, I'm going to get up tomorrow.
That was me also, man. Like I had a situation once when I was still early in my sobriety. A friend of mine got me some tickets to go to this concert. We went and we got in the parking lot and I just shut down. I was like, I can't even go in. And we didn't go in because I was so worried and scared of like, how is it going to be sober? Like, I don't know. I was really scared to go, didn't go in. But now I'm good and I understand it's just better now. You know, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan and I remember the first game I went to sober, the best time ever. The previous 2 years I had went blacked out drunk, don't even remember. So that's another thing. I was like, man, now I can start remember certain things and like keep these memories. And yeah, let's just piggyback off of you and your sobriety events.
Again, linking back to what you said about like birthdays and linking it into alcohol and stuff. I can't think of one occasion, wedding, anniversary, funeral, kid's 5th birthday party, where there's not either a cooler or a fridge full of beer, wine, champagne, whatever it is. And it's like in your face constantly. So what you were saying is like, you really advise people to have awareness and gain awareness with whatever it is key. Because as soon as you gain awareness, then not automatically, but then it links into you gaining more control. Then when you have more control, you can manage it a lot better and choose when you do enjoy a drink and choose when you have fast food or whatever it is. And it makes me laugh. Like every time I go home, like I stay with my parents and we'll be having like steak for dinner and it'll be a Monday night. And my dad will be like, you need a red wine with that. And I'll be like, it's Monday. I was like, no, I'm good. He's like, yeah, but it's steak. And I'm like, no, I'm good. So like even with foods, obviously you pair it, and don't get me wrong, like when I go to Europe, I'll have a nice glass of wine with a meal or whatever it is. But yeah, it's just really interesting the impact of alcohol that has mentally. Because in my opinion, there's nothing that's affected me more mentally than alcohol. Like across the board. Like waking up on like a 2-day hangover, mate. You wake up on Monday and I've got to do check-ins with clients and I'm like, I'm not even on it. I'm like, I'm not even there. And it's just like kind of autopilot. And I was like, this was in like the beginning. I was like, they deserve more. Like they're paying me to, again, change their life and help educate them so they can have these lessons forever. And I'm not on it. And I was like, And that was like, I've had many wake-up calls, but that was one of them. I was like, this is your business. They're allowing you to push your business. Change their life. All these things. And you're leaving it on the table by having 5, 6 pints, 6 shots. Do you know what I mean?
That's a good night.
Mate. that was pre-drinks. I'm joking.
I'm glad you said that because that's how I was too. Like to me, 6 to 10 shots, that's pre-game. Once I get tipsy, that was like my chemical body reaction. Like, oh, it's go time.
Yeah.
Like that's the warm-up. Now it's time to really dive in. Because I could finish a bottle of tequila by myself easily. And then in between each shot, drinking like a seltzer or something just to keep you going. And my whole thing was I never had control to where I would have to pace myself down. Like almost like I got excited. Like I'd be down to do like 5 shots straight. But yeah.
Yeah. And one thing that I think I've said it for years is like I always feel in social occasions, I always felt naked without a drink in my hand. So that me and Adam went to this opening for one of my clients, and I didn't feel awkward or anything like that. And it was just I still had that. I was like, oh, I feel naked, even though I was wearing a suit. I was like, So I was like, I can have a soda water. I was like, I need something.
Yeah.
But linking into kind of what you're doing now, so like the sober coaching, the strength training for females, and then you've got a podcast. I'm trying to remember because there's so many.
Yeah.
Charity work.
Yeah.
What is kind of the key driver for that? And I think I know the answer to this because it was literally the second message that you sent me on Instagram, and then I sent that voice note, and I was like, "Let's fucking do this."
For me, it's the people, man. Yeah. I'm for the people. Just based off the experience of growing up how I did, and what got us through that were, like I said earlier, charities and churches and other people helping me and my mom out, get out of that situation. Even her just making relationships later in life with certain friends who looked out for us. And with what I went through, not many people were going to survive that, you know? And I did. Not only the fall, but just my relationship with alcohol. And I just feel like a duty, like, why not help other people who are feeling at their rock bottom? Whether that's financially, physically, whatever it is I can do for them to hear my story to get them out of that spot. Because for me, when I was feeling those deep, dark, down moments, it was certain speakers and certain people of influence who shared their story that made me feel capable. So that's when I'm like, you know what? I need to tell my story so people can hear it. I think all of us are that. In whatever business you're in, there's somebody you heard their story and you felt like, okay, I can do that. You know, you heard Oprah's story. Okay, I can do that. You heard Tony Robbins' story, Eric Thomas, Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, whoever. Something about their story got you to feel like you could. And I think we all have a story. Sometimes we think it's not as significant because it was in a 4-story fall, but no. Something about your life and your story, you're not the only one. There's millions, if not billions of people in the world. And yeah, so that's my main driver of why I do everything I do. That's why I have my podcast. It'd be great to monetize one day, but right now it's not my focus. My focus on my podcast is similar to this, is just have somebody on there, give them a platform to tell their story because somebody needs to hear it. Somebody needs to hear it, and they also need to tell it. I know for me, when I started telling my story on podcasts or on Instagram, it became healing, man. Like you started to feel like, oh man, and you start remembering other pieces, and it's almost you remembering the stuff you got over. Because sometimes we forget. We get so busy, we progress in life, this and that. We forget the stuff we were able to overcome. And I think storytelling is beautiful for that.
Yeah, I think it, again, like Oscar will know, every single podcast that I've done, I've mentioned my mental health kind of journey, if you like.
Yeah.
And I only started therapy like 7-8 months ago.
Nice.
But it's not like I've started therapy. It's so men especially don't feel as kind of guarded, and it's speaking about it is actually a strength.
Yeah.
And the more you speak about it, the more you actually understand and put everything into context to why you felt certain emotions or those thought patterns, why they actually existed, and the fact that you're kind of working on it to build on them, but never forget them, because that's like who you are, where you are, and all that stuff. But one thing for me is like the purpose and everything that you have is amazing, but the messages that you receive, like basically saying that you're inspiring them. I had a message like that, and it was just that reassurance. And I said that to my therapist. I was like, and my mentor was like, I don't need reassurance. Like, you're amazing, great job. It's just like, you're on the right track. This is good work. That's all I need to hear. And it's just like, right, if I don't hear that, it's like, right, how can I get back in line with where I want to go? And it's, for me, it's the reassurance and then that purpose and being inspiring. And like you say, I'm not even thought about monetizing this, and I'm probably well off that, and so it's not even come into my head. And it's just about giving value. And if I can give value to one person, or we can give value to one person, then we've done our job. And that's the same with me with even posting like on Instagram. I look at it and be like, right, is there value? Yes, sweet, post. Every single time it's like, value, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? Because I've said this before, is like I strive to be the coach that I always wanted and needed for when I was younger.
That's good.
Because there was no one there. It was just like kind of, I was piggybacking on like sports teams. Be like, oh, what are they doing? Like, but it was all generalized. And then the internet came out, and I was Googling quickest ways to lose fat. And all these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, when I speak to clients, I'm like, I understand how you're feeling. I've been there. And I think that's what gives us as coaches, and Adam, again, he's been through a hell of a journey.
Yeah.
And that allows us to have not so much the upper hand, but more in our locker to then resonate with whoever and just be like, I haven't been through exactly what you've been through, but this is what I've been through, and this is how I worked on myself. So just, again, being vulnerable and authentic. And I feel like when I first started coaching, I was like, right, don't like be too vulnerable. But it's actually a strength when you put it in the right context. Like, there's no two ways about it.
100%. I agree. When it comes to the coaching side of things, I think the more vulnerable you are and honest you are, the better. We come in a world now with social media, you know, influencers and all this and that. Sometimes the real isn't shown of what's really going on, you know, what's really going on in their life. I think slowly we're getting to a point where social media is getting to that point. People are being more vulnerable, but I think it's important you share your journey in an honest way. Because when you're vulnerable and you're honest, people can feel that and sense that, and they gravitate towards you, and they want to train with you. Like, man, this guy's been through that, or this guy's talking about this. I need to be around this person. I know this person will care about me as much as he cares about themselves.
Yeah. That sentence was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And back to what you said about impact, that's one of my drives also, is leaving this world impactful. I think when you deliver, like you said, also value, when you deliver value, true value, for the simple purpose to leave an impact, the money's going to come. Eventually, the money's going to come. Like, even if it doesn't, it don't matter. You left a lasting impact. I think of people like Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, You look them up, I'm sure they weren't known to be billionaires, but their words are still lasting to this day. Their actions are still impactful to this day. And that's what I want to be whenever my time comes. There was an impact as opposed to, oh, yeah, he had all these boats and real estate. And that's cool. It's cool, great. I obviously do still want to have money to take care of myself. But, man, if you can impact somebody, whoo, it's just different.
Yeah, and it's like receiving comments and feedback of clients out of the blue, like, I've never felt this good at this. I've never felt this good, and they're like close to 50, and it's just, you've changed my life, and I couldn't do this without you. And there's so many emotional moments of being a coach, and like one of them that stand out is, you'll like this, Sean Nerney, shout out to you, mate. We ran the half marathon in New York, me, Sean, and my wife, to raise money for sarcoma. Wow. Which is kind of a really rare cancer. I'm going to butcher this, but I think it's like a cancer tissue in the brain or something. Okay. And Sean's now fiance is dealing with that. So it's very, very like emotional and stressful. And Sean was like, with his missus by her side, seeing the trauma, the pain, not just her, but the other patients were going through. And he was like, I want to do something. And that's all I needed to hear. So then I went on Google and was like, half marathons in New York. And I was like, sweet, I've booked us in for a half marathon. He's like, are you crazy? I can't run for 5 minutes. So when we started, Sean literally couldn't run non-stop for 7 minutes or 7 minutes. And it was the continuous kind of accountability, which I'm sure we'll go into, is just a superpower. And obviously the coaching side of things and the mental coaching as well. And just being like, not every day is going to go to plan, and just keep going. Like, I've got you. Trust me, I've got you. And he put all of his trust into me, and we ended up smashing out the half marathon, raised over, I think it was close to $8,000 to $10,000. Wow. And at the end, we were so sweaty and just hugged each other. I think there was a picture, and we just started crying because of what he did. And then we flew from Vegas to New York to do it together. And there was my missus' family there, and his family, and his now fiance's family. And it was, I remember sitting around and we were having beers and whatnot. I just sat there and I just like, no, just take it in, because it was one of the best moments of my coaching career and personally as well. And it was so emotional, and that was probably the best moment for me. But being part of that, and then for him to turn around and be like, I couldn't do this without you. But not just him, like his parents, his friends. It was like, I've never seen this, Sean. And I was like, my missus will say this, I'm so bad at taking compliments. Oh, yeah, me too. Like, awful, mate. Yeah. So then my wife would hear it and be like, did you hear that? They'd like slap me and be like, did you hear what he said? Yeah. And I'd be like, yes, I did. But I think like with what I'm doing now with the high performance, it was just physique and kind of fat loss. Yeah. Now with everything that I've learned and learning, because I don't think as a coach as a human being, you should ever stop learning. Yeah. In school, I was like, I'm done with studying. And then I thought, it actually never stops. Yeah. Is really focusing on, obviously, the training and the nutrition, but pushing more towards the mindset and self-mastery. Because for me, when you put more focus onto that area, it brings up performance, not just with, obviously, nutrition, physique, fitness, performance, or anything like that, but across the board. And it's improving people's relationships with themselves, which will then filter through into their relationships with their husbands, wife, kids, friends. And it's just the trickle effect. And the more I talk about it in this environment to people like yourself, sometimes I don't realize the impact that is having and will always have. And I know that like mindset and mental clarity are huge on your side as well. Yeah. One of my favorite people is probably yours as well, because you're a high performance athlete, is David Goggins. Now,
I didn't get into him really until a year and a half ago. I went to visit my grandma, my uncle. My uncle, I'm half Mexican. He's Mexican, ex-cholo, went to prison, was on drugs, everything. I hadn't seen him in some time. I haven't seen him in like 20 years, actually. So I saw him. He's congratulating my sobriety, and he's all amped up. He's like, hey, man, you listen to Joe Rogan and David Goggins? And I'm like, at this point, I was like, yeah, sometimes. He was like, man, you got to start listening. That's all I listen to when I go to the gym. You don't know me, son. And I'm like, okay. At this point, I had seen David Goggins, like a couple clips, but only like short 1 minute clips. I used to think like, man, this guy's a little intense. So as I leave California, I put on the episode of him and Rogan. It's like a 2-hour episode. I'm listening, and I'm hearing his story, man. I'm like, it all makes sense now. Bought his book, listened to both books. A lot of what he described fit what I went through, in the sense of you have to learn to build that just mental armor. And I didn't know that's what I was doing when I was going through falling out a 4-story window, losing my friend, all that whole journey. I didn't realize I was doing that, because sometimes people ask me, like, what keeps you motivated, keeps you going? I'm just like, I can't even explain it sometimes. It's just like when you remember all the shit you had to build up to get through certain things, it's hard to put into words. And it goes back to what you said, mental toughness, the clarity, mental strength, and self-belief. It's like, I don't know, man. It's just crazy sometimes when I think about it. When I need to get motivated or anything, I just throw on some Goggins or something, and I honestly tell myself sometimes, are you going to be a bitch today? And,
Mate,
and that literally gets me through my day. That's my type of motivation. Like, I don't need, you got this, let's go. To me, that doesn't work for me. Mm-hmm. To me, you're going to annoy me. Call me out. Call me something I need to know and hear.
No,
yeah,
mate, I'm like that dark energy, mate.
Dark energy. That's what it's like. Okay, I didn't think of a good name.
I use
dark
that.
Energy. I love that.
I used that and still use it for when I really need it. It's like I think I've used it every day this week because I'm 3 weeks away from photo shoot. Uh-huh. So mate, I am like there's moments in the day where I'm just like, phew, and I'm like, come on, like you fat piece of And I'm just calling myself every name under the sun just to get me moving. And then once I'm moving, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But because I without getting like too deep, like struggled with body image, self-confidence.
No, get deep, brother. What you mean?
Well, it's just one of those. I've always been, or in my head been, like through comments that I've received, and always been like a bigger kid. Like,
okay.
For example, my school jumpers, I used to put it on like a desk chair and then stuff it with pillows to stretch it out.
Oh, wow.
To make it baggier, so I didn't look as fat.
How old were you when you were this big?
And the thing is, all my mates were like, you weren't even big.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, so an even tangent, but I sent over something to my coach, and I was like, mate, I feel a bit fat. And he goes, you've got body dysmorphia, mate. He was like, you're ripped. He was like, listen to me. He was like, my wife's, she gets sick of me because I'm just like, but, and again, I don't do it for compliments or attention at all. But yeah, I've always had that like kind of fat mindset. So it's just ingrained in me, and it's just the easiest. I've never challenged it. And every time I'm like on a run, I'm like, come on, you.
Have you figured out where that came from?
Well, it was like comments in school and stuff, and previous coaches that, like a coach that I had when I was a kid. I've actually never said this, but on our old street there was a barber on the corner, and then there was like a sweet shop over the road, and our old like young football coach used to get the barber to watch me after school to see if I went and got sweets.
Oh, wow.
And would like lift my top up and see if I was still fat, and this was when I was probably like between the ages of like 8 and 12.
Oh, wow.
So then that kind of like sparked that, and obviously there was brother banter, but that didn't. I gave it back.
Yeah,
like that's different. And then in school, like in the rugby team, there was a certain group of lads that were actually my friend group at the time, talking about the gym. And they'll turn around and be like, oh, what's you won't understand. And it's just those little comments. So then I took that identity and ran with it. So then I started making jokes when I felt like that conversation was going in that direction. I would make a joke about myself before anyone even thought to.
Wow.
And then they would make them laugh. And I was like, oh, when you make someone laugh, it makes you feel good.
Yeah.
But then I was making them laugh because the joke was about me. And
Damn.
so it was, again, I don't want to make it sound worse than it was, but that was the kind of the catalyst to making myself believe that for the last, 22 years?
Yeah.
Or however long. Well, I'm 30 now, so that
Yeah.
long. So then it's, again, giving me those lessons to when someone is in a similar position to me, I should be like, listen, like, I've been there.
Yeah.
I understand how you're feeling. I understand how you're thinking. But yeah, the body image and the dark energy and stuff, that's something that I've actually started to change. And it's not like, you've got this and like pom-poms out.
Yeah.
It's just like the last mile on a run or the last K on a 10K threshold run or whatever it is. And it's like, not much longer. Keep going.
Yeah.
And it really has helped me because then that thought of me being fat isn't in my mind. It's like, you're fit, you're going to do this.
That's beautiful.
So it's changed. Don't get me wrong, I still use it. And I'll probably use it when I go to the gym later.
Yeah.
But it's under control now, where before it was kind of, I need to get motivated. Boom. Straight to that, straight away. So yeah, a bit of a long one there.
No, it's good, man. You got to be open. The more you share your story, the more you're going to help people and yourself, because people can easily see you on your social media and think, oh, this guy's been fit his whole life. This guy's good. Nah, bro. I'm dealing with stuff too, just like you. I've just been handling it differently. We can judge easily.
I don't know about you, but my main motivation to get in shape was purely external gratification.
Wow.
It was getting not even really attention off girls. Yes, of course, that's always nice, but it's your friend group to be like, fucking hell, you look good.
Yeah.
And it's just giving you that confidence to wear tighter t-shirts. And when it's windy outside, not because I used to put my hands underneath my t-shirt so the wind couldn't go against my stomach.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Like all those little things, and then catching myself in like a shop window or wherever it is, a car window, and just be like, okay, that's better.
Yeah.
And then it turned into actually like, yeah, don't get me wrong, physique for me is always going to be important because when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you look good. It's like a tennis match. It just goes both ways. But then it started to push into like, right, performance, fitness, strength. And then it just all kind of came together, but in a really weird way. And then I started learning about nutrition. And I was like, oh, so that will help me do this. And then and then the coaching kind of grew out of nowhere. But yeah, it's interesting because I would never really have thought about even talking about that or explaining it in that way if we didn't jump on this chat.
Yeah. I like to get deep, man.
Mate, when was it on Instagram when you was like, bro, I'm ready to go raw, bro. I was like, let's go. I love it.
Yeah, you got to, man. You got to peel back everything, and in a world full of fabrication and fake this, fake that, we need more vulnerability, honesty, and authenticity on these podcasts and on Instagram. There are a lot of podcasts out there, and not everything is authentic. A lot of it's entertainment, which I don't think anything wrong. We all need some entertainment. But I think sometimes here in America, at least, we got too much entertainment to where people are neglecting and escaping their real lives to go watch something to stay entertained for too long. And I'm not here. I said this recently because I did a speech competition. I'm in a speaker association, and it was 8 of us. And out of the 8 people, I was the only one who didn't have a speech that was. I watched them all go, all 7 people, and they all had like a moment, at least 1 or 2 moments where people were laughing, like the crowd. And as I'm sitting there about to do mine, I'm like, nothing about my speech is funny. Like, it was my story. I'm like, it's deep, it's painful. And then when I delivered it and I felt the energy in the room, I was like, okay, I'm not here to entertain people. I'm here to inspire, uplift, and educate, if anything. So yeah, that's why I appreciate you being open right there and sharing some stuff that you deal with or have dealt with and handled.
Yeah, I think with this podcast, and again, it's amazing you doing that kind of the speech and public speaking thing. I think that's something that I want to get into. But again, instantly going into my self-confidence, like, you've got nothing to talk about. You're not good enough. And I'm just like, me and Oscar were literally saying this yesterday. Creating situations that haven't happened yet. Who's to say that you aren't good enough? Only the guy that's staring you back in the mirror.
100%.
But yeah,
you got to. If you want this to grow, and not saying it's the only reason, but my reasoning for getting into the speaking space in public is because I want to be one of the best motivational speakers, equivalent to, are you familiar with Eric Thomas? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's who I inspired to be like with my storytelling and powerful messages. That's why I joined the association, to learn. Because at this point in my life, I don't mind speaking in public or anything, but I want to be able to really make you drawn into the way I speak. Like, there's some great speakers. Like, I love when Obama speaks. Like, man, he just knows, like, captivates you. And I also learned, if I want to get better at this, my podcast, or if I'm on somebody's podcast, it's better to articulate myself and really tell my story in a real good, gravitating way. I got to perfect my communication. So I read books on communication mostly, a lot of podcasts on communication. And yeah, man, you got to dive in. You shouldn't have told me, because now I'm going to have your number. I have everything. I'm just going to make you want to go.
Mate, 100%. And that's what I want. I want to push myself into those uncomfortable situations that is in line with where I want to go.
Yeah.
Because that first step's always the scariest. Then it's like, oh, it's actually not
that bad.
No,
yeah,
exactly.
For sure.
But yeah, with this podcast as well, I think this is packed full of value. But like you say, this, even though we have like laughs and jokes on this, I want it to be relaxed. I want it to be a place where you just like chill in, have a drink, have a coffee, even bring a beer or a burger. I'm not bothered.
Yeah.
And it's, again, circling back to the fact that if one person can come away inspired, receive value, and even implement a few things or just start putting their best foot forward, then my job is done.
That's it.
And we just keep going and keep going.
Because that one person is going to turn into more. That one person is going to tell their wife, their friend, their cousin, their coworker. I'm sure you've heard something and you shared it with somebody. Actually, you just gave me an example. You did the charity run for your friend's wife's cause. You shared it with me. So now I hear that. I could be inspired from that. Somebody that's going to hear this podcast could be inspired. So that one person just webs out into the masses without even trying.
And just going back to that story, like, Sean is now kind of, I'm not sure, again, I'll probably butcher this, but like, not an ambassador, but an affiliate with that charity.
Nice.
So now he's doing another half marathon, raising even more money. But without him saying, I need to do something, I have to help in whatever way I can, this wouldn't have started his kind of running journey, really.
Wow, yeah.
And when we ran, it was extremely emotional because they were all like cheering us on and whatnot. But Sean made a list of everyone that we knew, so me, Jenna Lee, my wife, and Sean, of everyone that's been affected by cancer. Bro, it was like 70 names.
Wow.
So when obviously I was pacing the run and making sure that we were just getting through it as best we can and not going too quick or whatever. When it got tough, I said to Sean, I was like, look at the list.
Oof.
And mate, even like coming down that home stretch, it makes me emotional now. It was just, I've never seen him run so quick. And I'm like, where's this come from?
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was amazing. But like I said, I think the core purpose for us is just to change as many lives as possible. Mm-hmm. And then whenever the day is when we retire or close the laptop or put our feet up, and it's just be like, do you know what? I'm proud of what we did. I'm proud of what I did. And then the life changed. But again, for me, what I love is building those relationships with the people on my team. Like, genuinely classing them all as friends. because half the time on calls or check-ins,
Yeah.
it's like, what do you get up to this week? And I'm like, oh, actually, we're actually here to talk about your nutrition. Or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, that shows them that I genuinely give a shit about each and every one of them. Because then that allows us to do our job above and beyond anything else that they can just get off ChatGPT or Google or whatever. Or, again, influencers that you'll never see their face, you'll never hear their voice. It's all the same.
Yeah.
For everyone.
All aesthetics.
Unreal, mate. Mate, I honestly just kind of want to book this out for another 3 hours, but they're busy. Anyway, we're definitely going to get you back on, mate, 100%.
3 hours is a long time to talk. Shit, it's like a Joe Rogan podcast. Damn, I don't know if I have that much info.
I might need a nap after this. But, mate, please tell everyone where to find you.
You can find me on Dorian Warmsley on Instagram, on Twitter, LinkedIn. My YouTube channel is Coach Dorian Warmsley. My podcast is on there where I have storytelling with different guests. Yeah, it's everywhere I'm at. On Facebook, same name. Everything's under my name. And I don't know where else I should be, but that's the main spot.
I mean, I don't know if you can be anywhere else. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Guys, please follow him. He's a true inspiration and a true gent. Mate, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom, for having me on, my man.